Look closely at the screen right now. What you are looking at isn't a pay-per-view main event. There are no commission officials sitting ringside, no bright lights under the Las Vegas Strip, and no million-dollar belts hanging over the ropes. This is raw, uncut, closed-door footage from a private gym session, and it just sent shockwaves through every corner of the boxing world. For years, the sweet science has been built on an unwritten code: what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. You spar, you test each other, you leave your ego on the canvas, and you walk out as brothers. But when two of the absolute sharpest defensive wizards in modern boxing history, pound-for-pound King Terence Crawford and multi-division maestro Shakur Stevenson, step inside the square A together, the sheer level of elite talent makes it impossible to hide. In this newly surfaced, raw footage that has completely broken the boxing internet, what started as a high-level mentorship session between a legendary veteran and his protege rapidly turned into something far more intense, competitive, and downright hostile. You can hear the echo of skin on skin, the sharp exhales of two men moving at human calculator speed, and then the sudden shift in atmosphere. The laughter stops. The casual flow vanishes. The posture tightens. When two master tacticians trade jabs, counter-punches, and trash talk with real heat behind every word, you aren't just watching a training clip, you are witnessing a high-stakes psychological war between two generation-defining talents. Why did the mood in the room flip on a dime? Was this just high-level competition pushing two alpha fighters to the edge, or did a line cross that no amount of brotherhood can fix? Today, we are breaking down every second of this viral footage, analyzing the subtle adjustments, the unspoken tension, and what this explosive moment really means for the future of both Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson. Strap in, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive right in. To truly understand why this video is burning up feeds across the globe, you have to understand the dynamic between Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson long before this clip hit the internet. In the boxing ecosystem, fighters like Crawford and Stevenson represent a very rare breed. They aren't sluggers who rely solely on wild power or genetic freak athletic strength. They are human chess masters. Every step they take inside the ring is calculated. Every feint is a line of code designed to probe your reaction time, test your guard, and measure your distance. For years, Crawford has occupied the big brother role. But is the elder statesman from Omaha a switch-hitting phenom who went undisputed at 140 pounds, completely dismantled Errol Spence Jr. to become the undisputed king at 147, and then marched up to 154 to conquer yet another division? He is widely considered one of the most complete, lethal boxers of this generation. On the other side of the mat sits Shakur Stevenson, the pride of Newark, New Jersey. A silver medalist at the 2016 Olympics, Shakur burst into the professional ranks with an almost supernatural defensive prowess. He makes world-class fighters look like they are punching underwater. His distance control is so precise that opponents often throw hundreds of punches across 12 rounds, barely landing in double digits. For a long time, their relationship was built on mutual admiration. You'd often see Bud Crawford in Shakur's corner, whispering adjustments between rounds, cheering on his wins, and showering him with praise in media interviews. Shakur, in turn, routinely paid homage to Crawford, repeatedly calling him the best fighter on the planet and treating him like an older brother in the sport. They shared camp spaces, worked out at the same facilities, and regularly sparred to sharpshoot each other's defense. Sparring between two fighters of this caliber is normally a masterclass of give and take. You throw a jab, the other guy slips it and counterpunches, you adjust your footwork, reset, and learn. It's a classroom environment where iron sharpens iron. However, gym sessions between elite athletes carry a delicate balance. When you place two men inside a ring, men who have never tasted true defeat, men whose entire identity is built around supreme dominance, the boundary between a friendly learning drill and a full-scale battle is paper-thin. All it takes is one punch landed a little too hard, one subtle piece of taunting, or one moment of disrespect, and the friendly sparring session morphs into a genuine brawl. That is precisely what makes this newly surfaced footage so mesmerizing to watch. In the early frames of the clip, you can clearly see the standard rhythm of their work. Bud is working out of his southpaw stance, using his long reach to measure Shakur's reaction. Shakur is bouncing lightly on his toes. Lowering his head, using quick shoulder rolls to deflection test Crawford's lead right hand. For the first 45 seconds, it looks like classic top-tier boxing training. You see two top 5-pound, 4-pound minds testing distances and working through their setups. But then, if you slow the video down and pay close attention to the footwork, the micro-adjustments begin. Bud plants his back foot, a clear mechanical shift that signifies he is no longer just throwing light touches, he is putting his weight behind his combinations. He snaps a stiff double jab that catches Shakur right on the forehead, pushing him backward toward the ropes. Normally, in a chill gym session, a fighter takes that hit, resets, and laughs it off. But Shakur Stevenson is not built like a typical sparring partner. The moment he hits the ropes, his eyes snap open, his posture shifts, and he responds with a lightning-fast left-hand counter that clips Crawford right on the chin. The audio picks up the distinct thud, and that single sound is where the entire dynamic of the room abruptly transforms. You can hear someone in the background yell, "Okay, now we working." And instantly, the energy in the gym spikes. The light gym music playing in the background fades out under the sound of intense foot pressure and heavy breathing. Bud Crawford doesn't step back to reset. Instead, he marches straight into the pocket, cutting off the ring with cold, calculated intent. Shakur doesn't retreat either, he digs his shoes into the canvas, rolls off the ropes, and stands his ground. What was supposed to be a standard technical workout had suddenly crossed the threshold into a high-stakes, unscripted battle of pride. Now, let's slow this down frame by frame and examine the technical brilliance and escalating tension inside this heated sequence. When Bud Crawford presses forward after taking that sharp counter, he immediately shifts from his conventional probing style into his signature predator mode. Crawford is famous for taking a round or two in real fights to download an opponent's timing. Once the data is downloaded, he becomes a surgical finisher. In this footage, you see that exact mechanism kick in. Crawford drops his hand slightly lower, baiting Shakur to throw the jab. He uses subtle upper body movement to slip inside Shakur's range, dipping under a sharp lead hook and landing a heavy body shot that rattles off Stevenson's ribs. You can literally hear the air leave Shakur's lungs. That shot had real bad intent behind it. Instead of backing off, Shakur immediately uses his shoulder roll, a defensive trick he mastered watching elite fighters like Floyd Mayweather, to deflect Crawford's follow-up right hook. With Crawford slightly off balance from throwing the heavy shot, Shakur fires back with a brilliant short uppercut right through the middle of Bud's guard. It lands clean. This is the exact point in the video where the psychological warfare turns up a notch. After landing that clean uppercut, Shakur doesn't just step back, he offers a quick smirk, nods his head, and utters a sentence that you can hear clearly over the camera: "MIC, you can't hit what you can't see, big bro." That brief moment of trash talk is like tossing a match into a powder keg. Terence Crawford's face instantly hardens. If you have followed Bud's career, you know that the moment an opponent talks trash or tries to show him up, a switch flips inside his mind. We saw it against Sean Porter, we saw it against Kell Brook, and we saw it on the biggest stage of all against Errol Spence Jr. When Crawford senses disrespect, his aggression isn't wild or out of control, it becomes laser-focused and punishing. Without saying a single word back, Bud steps right back into range. He doesn't give Shakur an inch of space to breathe. He uses a hard lead hand feint to freeze Stevenson's footwork, forcing Shakur to cover up high, and then fires a blazing three-punch combination: body, head, body. Every single throw has full torque behind it. Shakur blocks the first two shots with his arms, but the third body shot connects hard on the liver line. You can see Shakur's back foot slide slightly as he absorbs the impact. The speed of the exchanges here is almost too fast for the naked eye. Both men are operating at the absolute pinnacle of reaction time. When Shakur escapes out to the side using lateral footwork, Bud follows him instantly, cutting off the angle before Shakur can reset his feet. This isn't a relaxed camp spar anymore. This is two hyper-competitive elite athletes refusing to yield an inch of canvas. In the corner of the camera frame, you can see trainers and onlookers who were originally chatting and looking at their phones suddenly freeze. The entire gym goes dead silent except for the sounds inside the ring. You hear the squeak of boxing boots grinding against the canvas, the sharp snap of leather colliding with guard arms, and the audible strain of both fighters pushing their physical limits. Shakur, sensing that Bud is coming on strong with heavy pressure, dips low to thread a straight left hand down the pipe. But Crawford reads the movement instantly, pulls his head back just half an inch, causing the punch to slice through empty air, and returns fire with a crushing right check hook that catches Shakur right on the side of his cheek guard. The force of the punch turns Shakur's shoulder, forcing him to spin out near the corner post. Instead of letting the round end gracefully, Shakur turns right back around, puts his hands down by his waist, and snaps two rapid jabs right into Crawford's face, catching Bud off guard as he stepped in. The chime of the gym timer rings out to end the round, but neither fighter backs away immediately. They stand chest to chest in the center of the ring, staring each other down with sweat dripping off their chins, breathing heavily, neither man willing to be the first to break eye contact. That 3-second silent stare down after the bell tells you everything you need to know about the ego, pride, and intense competitive drive shared by these two boxing phenoms. To make sense of why a single sparring exchange can create this much raw heat, you have to look at the psychology driving both men. In combat sports, the big brother versus little brother dynamic is one of the most volatile relationships imaginable. On one hand, you have the mentor, the veteran who has already climbed to the top of the mountain, captured the world titles, secured the massive paydays, and cemented his legacy in the Hall of Fame. Terence Crawford doesn't have anything left to prove to anyone in the sport of boxing. He has conquered divisions, destroyed top-tier champions, and proved every critic wrong. When Bud works with younger fighters like Shakur, he does so out of genuine brotherhood and a desire to pass down his knowledge. On the other hand, you have the younger protege. Shakur Stevenson is young, ridiculously talented, and hungry to claim the throne for himself. Shakur respects Bud tremendously, but every young lion reaches a point in their development where they no longer want to be viewed merely as the student. They want to show that they can stand toe-to-toe with the very best, handle the heat, and push the master to his absolute limits. When you put those two mindsets together in the squared circle, conflict is inevitable. For Crawford, allowing a younger fighter, even one he considers family, to get the better of him inside the gym touches a deep pride. Bud's relentless killer instinct is what made him an elite fighter in the first place. He does not take plays off, and he certainly does not like being clapped back at or mocked inside the ring. The moment Shakur landed clean and threw out that witty remark, Bud stopped treating the round as a light teaching lesson and started treating it like a fight he needed to control. For Shakur, the pressure is entirely different. Stevenson has spent his whole career hearing people talk about his defensive, cautious fighting style. Critics often accuse him of playing it too safe in his high-profile fights, avoiding toe-to-toe pocket trading in favor of range control and pot shooting. So when Shakur stands in the pocket against a heavy-handed, ruthless finisher like Terence Crawford, he is proving something to himself and the world. He isn't just a runner, he has the chin, the heart, and the sharp counters to trade with the absolute scariest fighter in the sport. This dynamic is exactly why footage like this spreads like wildfire across social media. It offers fans an unedited peek into the pride and ego that fuel world-class athletes behind closed doors. When the video cut off right after that intense stare down, boxing forums and social platforms went into an absolute frenzy. Fans began dissecting every frame, arguing over who landed the cleaner shots, who had the better defense, and whether this gym altercation created a permanent rift between the two champions. Some commentators claimed Bud was simply asserting dominance to keep the young gun in his place. Others argued that Shakur's ability to slip Crawford's combinations and connect with flush counters proved he is ready to take over as the premier fighter of the next generation. Beyond the fan debates, this video raises a far more intriguing question: where does their relationship go from here? When two fighters reach this level of intensity during routine camp sessions, it becomes increasingly difficult to keep that competitive fire strictly inside the gym. History in combat sports tells us that some of the greatest rivalries ever known began as private gym wars between close training partners who eventually realized they were on a collision course. The broader implications of this heated exchange stretch far beyond a single clip. We have to look at the landscape of boxing right now and where both fighters stand in their respective careers. Terence Crawford is operating at the absolute peak of the sport. After taking care of business in multi-weight campaigns and hunting for legacy-defining fights, including long-discussed super fights with massive names across weight classes, Crawford's time in the ring is carefully curated. He isn't taking warm-up fights, and he isn't stepping in with anyone unless the stakes are sky-high. Shakur Stevenson, meanwhile, is moving through the division ranks with serious speed. As he continues to mature physically and climb weight classes, the weight gap between Crawford and Stevenson is naturally shrinking. While both men have repeatedly stated in past interviews that they would never fight each other officially because of their close brotherhood and shared respect, combat sports history is filled with fighters who swore they'd never meet, right up until the money, the belts, and the competitive pride made the fight unavoidable. Think about Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns, or the legendary sparring stories between Mike Tyson and his training partners. When the competitive fire burns hot enough, personal bonds get tested. Even if Crawford and Stevenson never sign an official fight contract for a sanctioned professional bout, this viral footage serves as a major wake-up call to the rest of the boxing world. For lightweight and welterweight contenders watching this video, the message is loud and clear: both Crawford and Stevenson are sharpening their tools against the absolute highest tier of talent available. If Shakur Stevenson is regularly taking heavy leather and trading speed counters with Terence Crawford in camp, imagine how slow the punches of potential opponents will feel to him on fight night. And for Crawford, working with a lightning-fast defensive wizard like Stevenson keeps his reaction times sharp and his instincts razor-tuned against younger, faster opposition. This footage isn't just viral clickbait, it is proof that elite boxing is defined by constant iron-on-iron pressure. When two master tacticians push each other to the brink inside a gym, it forces both men to elevate their craft to levels that average fighters simply cannot reach. The intensity, the sharp words, and the stare down at the end aren't signs of weakness, they are the exact traits that make both of these men undisputed champions. As this video continues to gather millions of views across platforms, one thing remains certain: whenever Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson share a ring, whether it's in front of 20,000 screaming fans at Madison Square Garden or inside a quiet, sweat-filled gym with no audience, it is absolute required viewing for anyone who loves the sport of boxing. What did you think of the clip? Did Bud Crawford show who the real boss is, or did Shakur Stevenson prove he's ready to inherit the crown? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below, hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive combat sports analysis. Peace!